know, and then it has just been that constant question of when's Clem going to do well, and he did really well in Valencia, up 2-0 against Hero, and then the reverse sweep, and it was like, no, was that meant to be the time? Maybe this is meant to be the time. This series will be tournament defining for them. Let's get into it. Fear Dragon, I know you're like the man in the top left, so take it away.
Up here, the top left-hand side of the map, we have our red Protoss player from Onside Gaming, the Thundershaft. He is Neeb.
And in the bottom right, our blue Terran player from Team Liquid, this is none other than Clem. All right, Fear Dragon, the crowd absolutely cheered more for Clem there, so you're going to have to cheer hard for Neeb.
I'm cheering for both of these players because honestly, I already said it before, but it's hard not to be a fan of either one of these players. And that's, I think, what I guess, like, to give a little bit of a sum up to what we were talking about before and how these players have maybe not been achieving as much as we all hope that they can. It's all because they are so good. They have such a storied history of a result, of potential, and I think that is what kind of sets up that sort of, oh man, I really hope they're able to make a deep run. It's a bit more disappointing when they don't. It's not because they're playing poorly. It's not because they don't sometimes make good runs. It's because we have such high expectations or hopes for them based on their past history.
You know, looking ahead into this game, it's a very exciting TVP because Clem loves to be aggressive. You know, if he doesn't Hellion drop in a series, it's probably not Clem. And he loves to bring that kind of, you know, just constant pressure all of the time. But Neeb, for me, has always been one of those players that can be so crisp and so clean in the early game. He can guarantee himself that great mid-game position. It's actually a real bit of a clash of styles, and you know, for that I kind of worry a little bit for Clem because he has had issues in TVP when it comes to trying to actually change away from just being straight up aggressive and being a bit more kind of passive and everything.
Absolutely. As we did see a handful of those Clem fans out there, but we are going to be seeing not, in fact, Clem getting aggressive initially. We have a proxy pylon coming out there from our American boy, Neeb. And so far, Clem is going to be scouting around with his early kind of movement, and he should be noticing the lack of a second pylon.
Yeah, missing the pylon's obviously a little bit questionable, and he is heading over to this right-hand side. Where's this SCV going to go? Is it just rallying back home? It looks like it may be. Obviously not going to find that robo facility just yet. And what a proxy as well. The robo facility of all things is very aggressive.
Yeah. You'll hear about proxy stargates all the time, and proxy stargates, they can be a bit aggressive, they can be a bit more committed. Proxy robo is a commitment. Okay, all right, guys, are you ready for some StarCraft? I hope you are.
Yeah, I told you, man, it's not Clem if he's not proxy starport Hellion dropping in the series, right? That's something he loves to do.
Who gets the advantage? Okay, well, now I know who gets the advantage from this because one of them knows about the probe.
Yeah, but he's going to be able to scout as well because he knows where the probe came from. So Clem picks up on the info. And this is probably a better scout for Clem because he can then put his production at home and he now knows what's coming his way. A delayed starport, yes, but he can still get it on the way back at home. And now he knows as well, probably an Immortal, potentially a Prism, may very well be worth getting a Viking out early to try and push that Prism back and remove the micro potential of this upcoming bust.
It's going to be so interesting because I think we also had a tech lab that was being built on that barracks, and yes, and swapping on over to the factory. So there's that C-check, there's the reactor getting swapped over to the barracks. No starport production for a bit, but that's not going to be one of the priorities like you were saying. Observer following up the Immortal, I guess, for high ground vision, just like long-term play.
Yeah, it's one of those situations now, I feel like, where it's just everything's a bit weird. And I do love these Hellions. They have potential over here, but Neeb is ready. He left 2 Adept at home, knowing that Clem was obviously looking for some Hellions at some point, but he still gets in. He is going to get 2 probes at the very least, and still looking for more, as he is going to find himself 3 probes and counting. So, good job.
Yeah, a little bit of overkill there on one of the Hellions. He could have actually gotten both of them if he split up the Adept shots, but ended up overkilling, and now he's going to be able to eventually clean up that other one. No additional probes go down, so Neeb going to be okay with that. And this is such a strange Immortal. I would be so scared to just leave a singular Immortal right outside of my opponent's base.
It's just been standing there, and obviously Neeb's trying to turn this into something which has got a bit more longevity to it. The issue is you're always at some point likely to lose the robo. You just want that to be at a stage of the game where you're able to replenish it somewhere else. Great catch here from Clem, gets rid of that Observer, and it just makes it a little bit harder for Neeb to know exactly what's happening and when. Where are these tanks repositioning to? Is Clem about to come forward? Maybe that Immortal then gets caught off guard. So Neeb playing like not the most dangerous of positions here, but yeah, it can go wrong if you're not careful.
Oh, absolutely. And Neeb has to be on on point with the control. He cannot afford to take too much damage. You already see immediate pullback with one of those stalkers after it takes a siege tank shot. Adepts threatening to shade, but not actually committing just yet. He is just trying to posture. He's trying to be out here and force Clem to kind of respect the fact that there could be a big attack coming.
You know, this is one of those moments where I actually really feel as though, you know, it's actually a really high-level move from Clem, because those Marines are, like, just checking, but they also were trying to kind of drag a Stalker in, like, get into attack range, pull back. Adepts do get in. Going to be nice to get maybe a couple of SCVs. Maybe it opens up everything at the front. I don't think so. Without a Prism and Micro, the Immortals unlikely to do much. We get rid of one Adept. The other stuck in the main. 4 SCVs is definitely good. But more than anything for Neeb, it's keeping him at a lead he should just have in PvT, more so than taking an advantage. And, you know, we are not on a third base or anything. We have a ton more gates, Templar Archives charge. To me, this looks as though Neeb's just going to have to commit here, because I don't feel like it's going to be good. It's going to be really bad for Clem, though, if he moves out and he gets caught by a ton of charge lots.
Yeah, this is actually getting really awkward. Now, Stim is still a long ways away from finishing, so the Immortals, I think, should be able to outrun this army, as they do have a relatively good movement speed overall if you're not dealing with Stim units. But, the charge lot's a little bit mistimed here, as they end up hitting the army before the rest of the army gets back there. And now, I mean, we have a couple of these siege tanks going down, but the reinforcements really do make the difference.
It's so hard to know as Clem what's coming your way, right? Because you haven't had further information. How committed is Neeb? Is he taking a third base? Is he not? Well, no, he wasn't. And so you're out on the map getting caught like this. The timing for Neeb maybe wasn't perfect, and that made it even more awkward here for Clem, who is now trying to hold on to this one bunker, repairing for his life here with a few Marines inside. Extra Zealots warping in. It's going to be tough to chew your way through those, because you're just not going to have the damage that you need. The SCVs will keep this bunker alive a long time, but we're just not killing Zealots fast enough. They're replenishing so quickly here from Neeb, and Clem caught out on the map allows Neeb to hit with his big 2 base. He was powering up for it. He said, you know, I'm going to make it look as though I'm not committing to that robo in the end, because I'm just sort of being scouted out and everything. But what he did do is keep that position on the map. He kept that present, so Clem was never able to confirm third base or not, and that meant that Clem's move out was wrong.
Absolutely. A really, really cheeky kind of style there from Neeb to pull out that first game W. And I have to say, like, really, really nicely done, because I know in those situations for Neeb, as the Protoss player, you'll see that bunker being repaired. The SCVs actually got onto the bunker and really cut down on surface area when most of your army is Zealots, and then you have the 2 Immortals. You kind of have some decisions to make. Okay, do I have my Zealots actually try and kill and target fire down individual SCVs? Do I try and have them find a little bit of surface area on the bunker and have the Immortals pair that and feel like I can still damage through the actual repair? Do I go after the Marines that are actually coming out to reinforce and have the Immortals target fire the bunker, just keep them busy? Like, there's so many little ways that you can actually execute that, and Neeb picked clearly the correct one.
Yeah, no, it was very nicely done by Neeb, and Clem, again, finding himself down a game in Katowice. You know, he was obviously down against time. That didn't end up well for him. He was down against Ragnarok and was able to pull it back. But when Neeb's happy to play, you know, with a little bit of trickery like this, it's so difficult. And this is such an important match, like I said before, but also because of who these guys still have to play. Yeah. Clem still has to play Dark, so does Neeb. Clem still has to play Cure. One of his weaknesses, Korean Terran players. It's really tough for Clem if he loses this series. Not impossible. A lot on the line right now as Neeb has a 1-0 advantage heading into game number 2, which will be on Ancient Cistern as well. A nice long map, pretty standard layout when it comes to it. We'll see what the 2 are going to find a chance to do here, as we are going to head on in and take a look at game number 2.
That we are, Wardy. We're going to be starting down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, atop of the red Protoss player, currently sitting up 1-0 from Onside Gaming. He is Neeb.
In the upper right, down a map and looking to bounce back from Team Liquid, our Blue Terran player, Clem. His game plan was shut down early, right, with the starport going down, but that's not what it came down to. Overall, that felt okay for Clem at the end of the day, because the Immortals didn't do much. It was just not being able to scout what the follow-up was, and there was that moment he dove in with those 2 Hellions. And obviously it was nice to get 3 workers, but can you imagine those Hellions just keep an eye on a third base?
Yeah.
Because if you don't see a third base, there's no need to go chasing down 2 Immortals on the map. You just sit back at home. So that's one of the decisions that Clem made. He gave up map control, and it really ended up exposing him because his weakness was lack of information.
No, I completely agree with you, and I think it really was an odd game that you shouldn't expect to be easily replicated, because effectively what it came down to, like you were saying, was also just how these players reacted when both of their original game plans were effectively thwarted. They had to come up with new game plans on the fly in probably a situation that I have to imagine. I don't know how many games Neeb has proxy roboed and stuff, but how many times do you think he's really practiced when his opponent also is proxying starport, has to cancel the starport, but also finds and scouts their proxy? Like, it's such an odd situation. They probably don't have a lot of that mapped out.
That's when your initiative really comes into play, right? That's when some players really excel and others just struggle a bit more, right? Some of them really like to go by a build. Don't think either of these players really struggle in that regard. I think they're both pretty creative. I feel like, you know, they both get into scrappy situations often enough. But yeah, obviously, again, Neeb coming out on top game 1. Game 2, Ancient System. Clem will SCV scout, of course, at a point in a series where he just can't afford to not know there's like no Nexus or anything, and he is even going to turn this into an attempt to put a bunker down. There is a Reaper moving across the map, so we will have a chance. And did the Reaper spot that pylon that's coming up from Neeb? He did, so that's really good info from Clem, because then he knows it's there, he doesn't need to rush over to it, and right now these two probes are potentially in some trouble. The Stalker won't be here for a few moments, so trying to deny this SCV is going to cost you a probe.
Yeah, that SCV should survive as well. The bunker even gets canceled. Oh, another thing I really want to note is that, yes, Clem scouted the pylon, but the pylon didn't actually have vision as it's building to see the Reaper, so Neeb doesn't know it's been scouted.
Yeah, he is clueless to the fact that Clem is in the know. And to him, he's like, oh, well, Clem didn't get into my main, so he's not 100% sure. Then obviously now Clem runs right over. He's going to start working onto that pylon, put some damage out. He sees it's a Stargate too, so you can continue in with, well, Marines. At this point, probably get a tech lab on that factory, build into an early Cyclone. He's even going to start up a second Rax, which gives him a lot of pushing power on the follow-up of this attack if he doesn't take any damage.
Now, the Stalker should be able to save the pylon, as it is going to be able to bully back that Reaper, but the shields are going to be taken off, and as you were saying, we're going to have some of those additional Terran units coming on out. That pylon, it's going to need some time to regenerate those shields. It could eventually be knocked out, but not before at least one of the Oracles pops on out.
There's Reaper. Just going to go back across, try and keep another unit back at home. And again, just find a bit of time, make sure you don't have to deal with the Adept at the same time. And hey, maybe a good chance of a probe kill here, right? We hop up into the main base, there's no unit out. Obviously, the probes are going to pull and nothing else. This is lost mining time for Neeb, so Clem is going to get one more probe. A lot of work is not mining during this. And yeah, just Adepts back at home that aren't able to help an offensive on the other side, alongside a Stalker and Oracle. It could get dangerous, and these Marines now might just be able to take this on for a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. Now, the Stalker has some great micro potential here, especially since it's all just a flat surface, but Oracle's going to head on in and just throw down the Revelation.
Can't overcommit, but the Cyclone, it was there, and now it's on the low ground, and Neeb realizes way too late. I mean, maybe his only choice would have been to dive into Clem's own main, just hope that Clem didn't have vision in one corner of it, but yeah, that's not ideal, and we do have the second Oracle popping out. Clem will see that moving along. He's got a second Cyclone about to pop, so he's safe in the main. Stargate going to be depowered, and he'll hide this Oracle back a bit to potentially maybe get a catch on that Oracle. When it doesn't come immediately in, he realizes, okay, just going to put it on the edge, zone out. And a good start from Clem. You've killed an Oracle. You took really no damage at all. The second Rax gets you such a fast stim. I'm terrified for Neeb because he's going to have no tech to help combat the initial push of Clem.
Yeah, I would actually up what you even said to, I'd say, a great start here from Clem, because I really do agree with you on kind of the terror that I think Neeb is probably feeling right now about the potential follow-ups from Clem. He's going to be looking so strong with that stim, getting very, very close to finishing on up. Neeb's going to go for a proxy pylon, is getting resonating glaives and adding on a lot of gateways. Now, this is so interesting, Wardy, because if Clem is going to decide to commit to an attack, something like this, where Neeb is effectively ready to also commit to a big all-in, and even more committed all-in than what Clem is throwing at him, this could backfire for Clem.
You know, it's almost the same as what we just saw last game, right? Where Clem, if he doesn't know what's coming, he could just walk right into his own death. It's like, it's a bit of a gamble from Neeb. He knows this probably isn't the best build. He knows it's probably not something he really wants to do, but it's a very good build for potentially winning in this situation if Clem does certain things. And at that point, with the way this game started, sometimes that's just what you got to hope for, right? And we'll see how aggressive Clem gets. He spots Clem coming across the map, so Neeb, all he needs to do is try and buy time for glaives, and once he gets that glaives, if he can just get enough Adepts to jump on Marines that are hurt from a single stim, he's going to start getting some very quick kills.
That he definitely will. Now, the Oracle is going to be able to work away at things, at least keeping Clem a little bit occupied, but Clem is also one of the fastest players in the entire StarCraft 2 scene, so it's going to be difficult to really delay too much more.
Clem pulled home.
Oh, actually, he went all the way home.
I wonder if Clem scouted anything during this. There's a Dark Shrine as well, by the way. So Clem absolutely wants to be at home. It's the best place for him to be, but he still needs to be set up at home. He sees all of these adepts coming. Immediately he knows full wall off. That's going to make it so much more difficult for Neeb. I mean, Neeb's going to be in a lot of trouble now, but the Dark Shrine could still be a big way for him to find some damage, even if these adepts do not.
It's going to be tough, though, because the full wall, if he keeps that wall up and is secure, that also shuts down the Dark Shrine, especially if there's no Warp Prism.
Maybe if the Adepts can bust through a building, but even that's not exactly going well here initially, and a lot of Adepts die. We kill some SDVs that are at the front, but Clem doesn't really mind that because his army is so much better, and given time, his army continues to get so much better. A few SCVs don't mean anything. He feels safe enough to drop the depot and chase this down because the Adept Shin was already used. He's going to kill every single Adept before Neeb can get away, and Clem is going to take a massive lead in this game. The last hope of Neeb right now going to be those couple of DTs trying to sneak on in and try and cause enough chaos to somehow overcome a 50 army supply deficit.
Yeah, and funny enough, it's not just the depot is down, but also the bunker is still burning down. But there is one DT. It's going to immediately get scanned. I don't believe there's energy for another scan right now, but I actually don't know that he needs it. There were two DTs. I don't know where the second one went,
I assume it's in the main base because it's the SCV's pulled away there. So
I think he may not have sent it in.
So yeah, maybe Clem just assumed the second one got in already. Either way, Clem took 2 SCVs of damage and he's just waiting. And the thing is, time is on Clem's side. It's not like he has to go, otherwise Neeb's back in the game. Not in the slightest. Clem has a bit of time to play a bit safe, to get up turrets, to be safe against DTs. Because Clem, again, Neeb just does not have the tech in his army to fight what Clem has. Even with a couple of Immortals buffing up the army, you're still missing the splash damage, which you need at this point when you look at the size of the Terran force.
Yeah, I just want to compliment the fact that Clem is keeping an eye on where that one DT was, and eventually even ends up scanning and killing it, as he also pushes at the front line. Such a fast player, is taking advantage of that speed in the utmost. Now the Adepts are going to try and shade on in. This is the Hail Mary play. I think one Adept finished the shade there, but this is going to be the most difficult defense of Neeb's life.
Yeah, just trying to get one Adept to splash damage the Bioforce, but he didn't siege the other tanks too soon, maybe expecting something along those lines. And Clem just going to keep on repositioning forwards. He knows the moment these Adept shades, he wants to be splitting away to minimize splash damage, and he does it pretty well. He stays away from this. The Adepts are going to get rid of a couple of tanks pretty quickly, and this Bioforce is freaking melting. Hello?
Okay, so a handful of things happened there. The siege tanks actually ended up hitting a lot of the Adepts initially. The Immortals are also able to get right in on top of those siege tanks. So as soon as those are taken out, then the Adepts are actually able to do quite a bit of damage with Resonating Glaives. A really, really brilliant turnaround there. Kind of unexpected. It seemed like Clem also did not expect it.
I mean, neither did I, really. You look at this army, and I feel like the Adept just shouldn't really be that good. Now we've got Clem in a bit of a weird spot. Tank rallying out the front. SCVs have to pull away. Great force field to make sure this tank is going to die. And Clem's going to go back to defending behind a wall, but with the Moors to help bust it down, Neeb is on the offensive, and he's actually got a good shot at this Fear Dragon.
The DT's even actually starting to take out some of the hit points on the Cyclones and some of these Marines. A scan comes on out, snipes off both of those DTs. But as you were saying, Neeb is in a really, really good position now. Additional reinforcing Adepts are going to be coming on forward. Is he going to let that shade finish? No, does not need to overcommit. He feels confident about his position right now, and at this point, we have Colossus actually coming on. Is Neeb thinking about the transition, or is that just a backup thing that he's getting set up in case this doesn't fully end the game?
I think he can just afford to go into the backup thing, right? He's keeping his opponent on the third base for a huge amount of time. His own third base economy is more or less fully in play. The one thing he is missing is upgrades. Terran's already at 1-1 here while Neeb sits with nothing at all. The Colossus is smart because you need something. I still feel like given time, Clem's army can fight off these Adepts and everything, but the Colossus gives you the chance then to fight the next stage of this as Neeb, because it's probably not likely you can finish the game here. So yeah, he was building that Robo Bay a long time ago, and I think it's a good call to put it into use.
Yeah, absolutely. Force Field's going to try and lock in a handful more of these units. Wouldn't have actually minded Guardian Shield or something, since he is trying to keep some of these units alive a little bit longer and just gradually whittle away at things, especially with no upgrades. But Liberators, I think, should finally put an end to this kind of attack. He's going to try and trade the best he can with especially the Immortals hitting those Marauders as the turnaround. Ooh! Good Widowmine connection also snipes off one of those Immortals. Stalker's actually coming in to reinforce. Is that enough to knock out the Liberators?
Why is Neeb still attacking Fear Dragon? Like, there's absolutely no need to be attacking into these Liberators. These Stalkers, they don't have upgrades or anything, right? So this is just not good compared to what it should have been. As our Bioforce will continue to push on forward, and these Stalkers are going to be chased down all the way back home. Clem with a solid lead.
Well, Adepts are going to be shitting on forward, and it seems like there's going to be a lot of people talking very, very loudly right now. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the Adepts are going to try and take out as many of these workers as possible, but the wall is up, and at the same time on the other side of the map, Clem is getting ready to end the game here.
Yes, he's just going to dive on these couple Colossi. Super Battery will not save the first one. The Marauders will continue over, and they are going to aim for a pylon and a battery, if at all possible. This Colossus continue to go after these Marauders, and a few more SCVs continuing to go down. The DT's counterattacking at least, but Neeb, he really just overcommitted across the map. If he kept that core army to support the Colossi, I don't think Clem can do this. Obviously, losing the main army means the Colossi are exposed, and then Clem can negate that splash damage.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be really, really tough to bounce back from. 11 workers going down on the other side of the map is nice, but Clem, okay, he's actually out of scans right now. He has to retreat back. So it seems like Neeb gets a little bit of safety here. Also able to clean up that Widow Mine, and at the end of the day, it's still such a weird situation. Clem still has a massive army supply lead, but Neeb he's hanging on, barely.
He is hanging on, but Clem now has a third CC, and that economy is something he hasn't had access to before. He's got Liberators against a very low Stalker count as well, and I just can't believe that Neeb, I get it, it's been a crazy game. I just don't feel like Neeb, I don't understand why he believed he had to attack in across the map, when, of course, you know what's happened, right? You know you've got him off the third base, you know you've got Colossi at home. If you had not there at home, I get it. GG's, Clem obviously finishes up this fight. But this was really a game of, both players having leads and really not playing it out in the right way, because Clem could have easily, I think, done a lot better earlier. And then I think Neeb was in a killer position, and he just walked into Liberators with no real way to get rid of them.
Stuck around too long. He stuck around a lot longer than he needed to. I'm totally with you on that, especially, yes, as soon as the Liberators start coming out, because it wasn't like Liberators show up, oh no, the army just pounced on me. It was Liberators show up, and he kind of just kept playing around with it for an extra like 30, 40 seconds or something as more and more units came up. And then eventually, like, the one Widow Mine went off on his Immortals, and everything just started kind of escalating, or I should say de-escalating in terms of his army supply.
Yeah, that was honestly a really wild game. I'm still impressed that Neeb made it so close, because I don't think Clem, was wrong to be across the map, because he got past the initial Adept phase. And it's not like Neeb had really added anything, which I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to make the difference. Like, okay, there's a couple of Immortals and so on, right? But it felt as though Clem's army should have been able to do very well there, and Neeb, like, rolled him. I mean, moments before that, Clem was up like 40 army supply or something. So it was really an insane fight from Neeb to turn that around. It's just a shame that he got so excited on the other side.
No, absolutely. I think if you put like a screenshot of those two armies right before they were about to engage and posted it or showed it to a bunch of like Protoss and Terran players, I think a fair number of them would be like, yeah, I think Terran should still win that, right? Like, I feel like a lot of them would, but man, Resident Engraved, when the Adepts got into the right position, they absorbed the tank fire just right, the Immortals also getting their damage done, it really, really made it a lot more one-sided than I thought it would be.
Well, if nothing else, Fear Dragon, absolutely excitement, just full on excitement in these games between Clem and Neeb. They're fighting for maybe not their life in Katowice, but for their best possible chance in Katowice, because again, they have some Titans yet to play. Dark is on the agenda for both of them. Clem versus Dark is our matchup in a couple of matches time, I believe, as well. So that's going to be a thriller, because Dark was the player to stop Clem's TVZ record. Yeah. And since then, Clem has definitely struggled a lot more against Dark than he has against others. So that's going to be a lot of fun later. And again, obviously for Clem becoming very important with the fact he's lost a match already.
I'm glad you bring that up, because also Neeb has a long history at World Championships, specifically against Dark. And it's not a pretty one for Neeb. It's not one that Neeb looks back fondly on. He has definitely been knocked down by Dark many, many a time in those WCS finals and Katowices, etc.
Well, here we are going into game number 3. I do feel like I like this map, Royal Blood, for Clem a little bit. Let's see what we get up to. Fear Dragon, I'll once again let you start.
Well, thank you so much, Wardy. We're going to be starting up here in the top right-hand side of the map, representing Onside Gaming, our red Protoss player. He is Neeb.
And down in the bottom left, bringing it back in an intense game 2. Can he keep up the momentum for game 3 from Team Liquid? It's Clem.
Clem, strong, momentum-based player, which, you know, it's been his biggest asset and also his biggest weakness throughout his career. And I think right now, a win on the board is going to do so much for him. If he can lock down this series, even if it's going to be 2-1, even if it's going to have been a little bit of a messy series, it's going to do so much for him moving into that next match that he has to play again today, right after this, basically, versus a Titan in the StarCraft scene.
You got Nova in the crowd via Dragon.
That is a great Nova.
One heck of a Nova. You know, momentum is such a thing for Clem as well. I can't remember who told me it now, but someone once told me, like, Clem is a different player when he's won the first few games of the day. Because he just, like, gets confidence, and he believes in himself, and he plays more confidently, and then he's almost unbeatable because he's taking fights, which is like, why are you taking these fights, man? That's ridiculous. But he's like, well, nothing can stop me today. And that's what makes Clem terrifying sometimes. So it is almost funny because this new format of, like, groups over multiple days can be very good or very bad for Clem, because if he'd gone 2-0 yesterday, we'd be like, oh man, Clem would have loved to play the rest of the day. But actually, I feel like going 1-1 yesterday and come in today is like probably nice to actually have a day to reset and get going again today. And again, would be really important to take this win off Neeb, I think.
Yeah, the format changes are really interesting in how they've kind of affected different players. Like you were saying, it is there to try and prevent a situation where a player has one bad day and, oh no, you're just out of the event, everything is over from the group stages. But at the same time, like you were saying, it can be really good. If you get on a roll, then you can just continue that roll. If you have a bad start though, yeah, like you said, get that little bit of a reset point. And it seems like Clem has gotten a little bit of that. We'll see if he can actually carry that out here in game number 3, as we've had some strange openings so far from both of those first 2 games. I was about to say, I really wonder if we'll get a normal one.
You know what?
40, maybe not.
This is normal for Clem, though, proxying a starport and, you know, going for a Hellion drop.
That's true.
And he's, you know, he does it like once per series. I used to say once per best of 5, but nowadays it's like best of 3 even, because he just loves this build so much. And the fact he got denied to do it in game number 1, you know, that I think is like, he's like, I still have this build. I will proxy Hellion drop you, Neeb, so you better watch out. Trying to hide what spawns here. The Adept can't actually see, so that's a very cute move. Just keeps you guessing. Yeah, usually it probably is Hellions, but there's a chance it's Widow Mines. And of course, really, you don't want to reveal the fact that this is potentially going to be, you know, a starport on the map or so, although it's definitely something Neeb has to consider, because everybody knows that Clem absolutely loves to Hellion drop.
Oh, absolutely. Now, the Adept is going to have to retreat on back home, and like you said, it's going to really rely on Neeb having that kind of intuition about what he's seen so far and what Clem likes to do. Oracle's going to be coming out first from that Stargate that Neeb ended up throwing down, which can be a little bit helpful if you decide to use it defensively. We'll see if he ends up following up with like a Phoenix or something, which can also be really helpful for trying to punish the actual medevac itself, and that is actually going to be usually the value pickoff that Neeb would go for.
Oracle, no! Misses the medevac. It went back for the other Hellion. The Hellions got out of sync. I'm not sure what caused that, but that was obviously a delay here for Clem. The Oracle here, but the power of Clem is he can lift up these units and he can take them elsewhere, and he's just so annoying running around. Obviously, it feels as though this is good enough for him. Just getting some extra shots off. He's already going to be at 6 workers. He wants more. He will lift up 2 of these Hellions, drop them down on the other side. This Oracle's going to be drained of energy, and Neeb's not going to have much defense left. Obviously, the third base location is the natural in this game because of the engineering blade block that started us off, and Clem has 8 probes and still 2 Hellions, yes, low HP, but with a chance to potentially find more.
Oh, this is getting really awkward here. Now, the shield battery is going to make things a lot more difficult because these Hellions do not one-shot workers, but they can still gradually pick away through those shields and do damage. The Adepts on the other side of the map are not there to defend against the Hellions because they're trying to get damage and delay the natural, but I think Neeb is taking a lot more damage than he's actually dealing by delaying that natural.
You know what, though? It's 10 probes, and it's the Oracles that have done nothing on Clem's side of the map, right? So, yeah, what a great drop from Clem here early on. He gets the medevac out alive, too, in plenty of time. And Neeb, his Oracles are just not as effective. They've not been picking up information throughout this. And now Clem is comfortably on a natural. He easily has enough to deflect Oracles on a Phoenix from this point on. And it just then feels as though that Neeb has kind of a lack of tech. His Twilight Council is going to be very late in this game. We're going to be talking about 7 minutes at least before a Twilight upgrade really hits the streets. And that is really painful. And I mean, we're going to keep building Phoenix, so probably Phoenix Charge. That's nice for shutting down some of the aggressive pushes from Clem, but it can be overwhelmed if Clem just gets too much bio, kind of similar to that Adept game, where we're expecting once Clem gets that kind of critical mass of bio, the Gateway army just isn't enough if it's just Zealots or if it's just Adepts.
Yeah, going to be a very painful game, it feels like, for Neeb going forward, unless he can mount some kind of magic. And he has definitely been mounting some magic, especially with information denial and surprising Clem. Clem doing these kind of move outs at maybe a time when it's better to just be at home. So if Neeb can pull something like that out yet again, that may be his pathway to victory over here. Even these stasis traps and stuff could potentially delay some kind of push out, make things a little bit awkward for Clem. We'll see what happens with those. But for now, like you were saying, Wardy, right, like you were kind of predicting, that Twilight Council does get used as charge is on the way. We're going to start to see a handful more of these gateways being plopped on down.
Kind of has to be. Charge is a bit faster than Blink and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes more effective more quickly if you've been slowed down early, because then you can put the gas on the Phoenix and you can kind of keep some map control. I'm still a bit worried about the first push of Clem, because Neeb, how many gateways does he have right now? Because
it's maybe 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah, it just feels like he's going to need a good couple warp-ins to really get on the board here. As Clem got caught by that first stasis, it looks as though for the moment he's skirting around the edge of the second. So a couple Cyclones held back. That's not the worst case scenario. You're still getting the bulk of the damage dealers across the map quickly.
Yeah, very, very true. No more stasis traps behind this either. It's just that one extra stasis. I think he's trying to draw some units off. Well, actually, he draws a lot of the army back, so every second that Neeb is buying is actually, I think, what he would consider a bit of a W. Even finds a Sage Tank with the Phoenix, and he may very well get a pickoff here. These are some really great pickoffs for Neeb.
I feel like these few seconds have been massive, because now Neeb has a lot of Zealots, right? That extra warp in, just being there from the very start, makes a big difference. One less tank to help splash as these Zealots run in, also a big deal. So a good combination of things to go in Neeb's favor. And it probably puts this at a point where holding is obviously plausible, and that's why Clem is backing away. He knows the fear and the power of just a ton of charge slots if he doesn't quite have enough to fight it.
Yeah, I think even the extra couple of seconds buying time for the energy on those sentries to get a Guardian Shield, which it's the kind of underrated thing that the sentry buff actually does enable, is that the sentries keep up with your Zealots a little bit more. You keep those Zealots in the Guardian Shield, it can make a big difference, especially when neither of these players have any upgrades just yet.
This is now a bit of a frustrating game for Clem, because he feels pinned back by the Phoenix, right? You know, he likes to be active on the map, but being active in small numbers and drops is not exactly great against the Zealots, and you've got to always be aware of the fact that you could be countered, and you can't just let Zealots go, you know, run rampant in your bases. So Clem has a lot on his mind right now, and I feel like these are the kind of games where Clem is probably in his least comfortable state in TVP.
Yeah. Clem is a player that when you think of, and you try and think of iconic moments or clips of Clem, it's him being aggressive, it's him doing multi-pronged pressure, it's him being out on the map, not being at home. And then sometimes actually the iconic moments are Clem being punished for being out on the map and not being at home. So when Clem is fully just forced to be at home, not allowed to actually get into his element, that is going to be an uncomfortable place for Clem.
Bio, gonna move out. I mean, this is a large army, and there is still that point where it's like, well, you've still only really got Zealots, right? It's such a fine, like, seesaw act of, you know, it could go so easily in the Protoss favor and so easily in the Terran. The Zealots are going to come around the back, but they've kind of missed this army. He knows where it is because he's had the revelation.
Oh, he's
so he is looking for, he's actually going to counterattack. Wow. That's very brave, man, because he could get overwhelmed here, and the counterattack could plausibly be shut down as Clem needs to be careful of this stasis. He runs straight into it initially, so it's a big start. He tries to activate another one. There is one off to that left-hand side and one to the right. These oracles are paying dividends. They weren't great early on, but now they are doing a lot.
I don't know if Clem knows about the last one on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I feel like he would have set it up. Is that... Oh, my goodness, what a sad scan for Clem. The other Zealots are coming back, by the way, so this is starting to become a surround, and that means Clem's not going to have anywhere to kite to. Neeb's supply is up as the Disruptor shot comes in. Pretty nicely timed. Big stim from Clem. Runs into the stasis. Now he kills one Disruptor off, but half of his army is stasis warded. And the Zealots from the backside, well, they went back across the map, so they can't actually help. So this is so awkward of a fight on both sides.
Yeah, combining the stasis with the force fields also makes a wall that the Zealots don't really want to engage through. So it does get a bit awkward, but like you were saying, those Zealots coming in from the backside. There's no reinforcements that are going to be able to easily make their way into the fight here for Clem. A full surround here from Neeb. He gets a very, very quick cleanup there on that army as the pickup is forced. Disruptor also going to be able to zone out this army. The Phoenix take care of the Liberator in an instant. But does Clem have enough reinforcements to actually still threaten something here?
He's up 20 army supply, but he is on a timer because he is only on 2 bases. He's never set up to play on 3 bases in this game, so he's just got to keep going. The Widow Mines are big into the center of the Zealot. Disruptor shot will clean those out, but can Clem get rid of those Disruptors? We're trying to make Colossi now something more stable to help Neeb defend, as Clem will come chasing forwards. I'm kind of worried about the Zealot count right now. That Disruptor running forward too. Clem could get rid of that before it gets to fire again, but he doesn't find the chance. The Disruptor doesn't do anything though, which means Clem now will get rid of it, but we're counting down to Colossi. However, Clem has a 40 army supply lead, the best position he's been in army-wise. Extra warp in Colossi about a pop is going to be huge, but will there be any defense for them Fear Dragon?
It's getting so close right now. The Colossus both end up popping. This army is actually so stimmed up, but one of the Colossus ends up going down instantaneously. It does not have the chance to
Oh my God!
Clem seizes victory here in game number 3, 2-1.
Wow, just absolutely wow. His heart rate must be through the roof because